starting with 1 million luck points. Chapter 121, Combat Talent. Wang Ming, Li Ji, Yuan Cheng, Yun Yan, and the other students of the training class watched Zhou Hao return to the team in a daze, their faces filled with disbelief. For Zhou Hao to do what he just did, he must have reached the level of a martial artist. That's right. To think that Zhou Hao, who has always been ranked at the bottom of the class, actually broke through to the martial artist level without others noticing. He probably broke through after the wilderness cleanup operation last time. Su Ling must have given Zhou Hao a lot of rare resources. With so many resources, even a pig can break through to become a martial artist. But even if he's a martial artist, it's still impossible for them to kill the demon warriors so quickly, right? And there were even 10 of them. When did Zhou Hao become so powerful? Most of the students in the training class could not help but discuss. On the high platform, Shen Jing retracted his shocked gaze. Principal Zheng could not help but step forward and whisper, "Instructor Shen, could Zhou Hao be?" Shen Jing shook his head. "No, I've observed carefully. This Zhou Hao's blood essence level is only at the martial artist level. The reason why he was able to kill the demon warriors so quickly is because he has natural combat talent." Combat talent. The parents of the students, including Su Zhenqiu, shouted in surprise. That's right. Shen Jing's expression was solemn. All of you should have noticed that Zhou Hao doesn't make any unnecessary movements. It actually resembles the minute subtlety movement technique of high-level experts. However, at the same time, he doesn't seem to be following a movement technique at all. This shows that he has never systematically learned this before. Moreover, when he first moved, his movements were clumsy and stiff. But as he continues moving, he appears to be becoming more and more proficient. There's only one explanation for this situation. It's his innate combat talent. At this point, Shen Jing sighed with emotion. I've been an instructor in the Yanjing training camp for nearly 20 years, but there are very few students with such combat talent. I didn't expect to find someone like him in Chu City High School. Instructor Shen, it's not that I don't believe you, but this Zhou Hao has never displayed any combat talent before. Isn't it too much of a coincidence for him to show it in actual combat this time? Su Zhenqiu frowned and asked. Shen Jing glanced at Su Zhenqiu and said indifferently, in the previous combat competition, Zhou Hao killed 2 mutated beasts. Do you really think that was just luck? The eyes of the other parents lit up. That's right. I also thought it was strange back then. No matter how lucky a student is, it's still impossible for him to rely on luck to kill so many mutated beasts. Now that I think about it, it's very likely because of Zhou Hao's combat talent. Su Zhenqiu also recalled carefully. Shen Jing's voice continued to ring out. Actually, combat talent isn't that special. It's mainly about one's timing. Especially in a battle with the enemy, the opportunities to strike can be quite fleeting, and most people are unable to catch such an opening. However, a person like Zhou Hao seems to be able to accurately catch it and defeat demon beasts stronger than him. Hearing Shen Jing say this, the scene of Su Hao killing the red crown red python by using the python's own tail flashed in Su Zhenqiu's mind. He could not help but nod heavily. Instructor Shen, thank you. I have learned a lot. Seeing this, Principal Zheng asked, Instructor Shen, since natural combat talent is so rare, it seems that Zhou Hao is also a genius. With some nurturing, he might be able to become an expert. Instructor Shen shook his head lightly. People with combat talent are usually extremely strong when they develop, but it requires them to be able to develop in the first place. This Zhou Hao's foundation talent is too ordinary. Previously, he was stuck at the first level of blood essence. If not for the many resources he obtained from clearing the wilderness, he probably wouldn't have been able to break through to become a martial artist in his entire life. Su Zhenqiu shook his head when he heard this, thinking to himself that he couldn't be soft-hearted. he still had to break up his daughter and Zhou Hao. However, at this moment, Instructor Shen suddenly changed the topic. However, combat talent is still too rare. It's not easy for us to find such a genius. We have to give him a chance. Su Zhenqiu immediately smiled bitterly. Instructor Shen, do you mean that Zhou Hao is worth nurturing? It depends on his luck, Instructor Shen said ambiguously. Su Zhenqiu was speechless. The combat assessment of the training class came to an end as Zhou Hao and the other students finished up. Zhang Yi patted Zhou Hao's shoulder excitedly. Not bad, Hao Zi. I didn't expect you to have also broken through to become a martial artist. Zhou Hao chuckled. I just wanted to give you guys a surprise. As he spoke, he looked at Su Ling. Su Ling's jade-like face was also filled with an excited smile. When she heard that Zhou Hao had passed the assessment, she was even happier than when she found out that she had passed. However, seeing Zhou Hao wink at her as if he wanted her to praise him, the smile on her face immediately disappeared. She snorted. You didn't surprise us, you simply shocked us. You made Zhang Yi and I worry for nothing. Remember to buy us dinner tonight to make up for it? When Zhang Yi heard this, he smiled and said, yes, Zhou Hao, you have to treat us. No problem. Why don't you guys come to my house tonight? My mom cooks really well, Zhou Hao said without thinking. Zhang Yi hurriedly nodded. Sure, let's go to your house and try Auntie's cooking. Su Ling became hesitant. If I go to your house, won't I disturb Uncle and Auntie? Also, seeing your parents so soon is a little. Zhou Hao laughed. Su Ling, are you afraid of meeting my parents? Su Ling could not stand seeing Zhou Hao being smug. She immediately put up a front and said, fine, I'll go. I wasn't afraid at all. Also, buy some wine tonight. We have to celebrate. All right. Zhou Hao said happily. On the high platform, Instructor Shen's voice sounded. The combat assessment for the focused training class has officially ended. After nearly a month of hard training, everyone has improved faster than I expected. Everyone has surpassed all the minimum requirements. You've all made me proud. Therefore, I've decided that everyone will pass this combat assessment. Chapter 122, Opening the Land Pathway. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Yeah. That's great. We have you. Including my total points, I'm ranked at the bottom this time. I didn't expect the instructor to be so nice. Many students who had lagged behind in points in the training class were so excited that they cried tears of joy. Only after experiencing the training class did they truly understand that the training class could change their lives. Therefore, every student was very nervous and worried that they would be expelled from the class. But now, with Instructor Shen's words, they at least had a peace of mind for the rest of the month. Most of the Year 3 students in the spectator stands were sad. Damn, if everyone in the training classes passed, how are we supposed to enter the training class? That's right. Even Zhou Hao, who is ranked at the bottom, has broken through and became a martial artist. If we go in, we will definitely be able to break through to a martial artist too. Quickly ask the teacher if there are any other ways to enter the training class. After the combat assessment ended, the principal, dean, and even the teachers of the various classes were surrounded by smart students who asked about the training class. After school, Zhou Hao had just returned to the Yang Garden residence when he received a message from Commander Zhao and the others. After hesitating for a moment, he still turned his black tortoise divine turtle armor into red armor and quickly arrived at the city's East Station headquarters. Boom! As soon as he appeared, Commander Zhao, He Biao, Zhenhong, and the other grandmasters stepped forward to welcome him. Senior Zhou. Senior Zhou, it's been a few days since we last met. Your aura has become even stronger. Senior Zhou is so powerful, but he still doesn't forget to study. It really makes us ashamed. The Grand Masters said respectfully. Zhou Hao smiled and waved his hand. Commander Zhao, what's the matter? Commander Zhao hurriedly said, it's like this. The king-level demon beasts that submitted to the beast wave attack last time have all been controlled by the special chip that Senior Han brought. After an unanimous agreement, we decided to first use these king-level demon beasts to open a land tunnel to the frontline fortress. The frontline fortress at the spatial rift. Zhou Hao was stunned. Commander Zhao hurriedly explained, this is actually Senior Han's suggestion. The frontline fortress at the spatial rift is the key to the survival of humans on Earth. There are an incomparably large number of foreign races there, and there are also many experts in the base. If our Huadong city can open up land transport with the frontline fortress, then the city will be able to welcome rapid development. Zhou Hao nodded in realization. That's a good thing. I don't mind. Commander Zhao and the other Grand Masters laughed when they saw this. Only with Senior Zhou's support can we have the confidence to do this, they all joked. Zhou Hao said without thinking, I'll naturally fully support something that's beneficial to the development of the city. Commander Zhao, if you need anything, just let me know. Commander Zhao said happily, Senior Zhou, with your words, I'm completely relieved. In fact, the most important thing about clearing the land transportation channel is the crew's safety. After all, the distance from the Huadong city to the frontline fortress base near the rift is quite far. The wilderness area in between is incomparably dangerous. If not for the king-level demon beasts that you suppressed, we definitely wouldn't dare to do such a thing. Zhou Hao couldn't help but ask, when will this be carried out? It will probably take half a month to prepare, Commander Zhao muttered. All right, I'll be prepared. Zhou Hao nodded. Is there anything else? Commander Zhao hurriedly shook his head. No. Zhou Hao soared into the sky and quickly disappeared into the horizon. They watched as Zhou Hao left. The group of Grand Masters sighed. Senior Zhou is so powerful and is even willing to work hard to contribute to the city. It's indeed admirable. Commander Zhao nodded. The stronger you are, the greater the responsibility you have. Senior Zhou is the true pillar of our human race. Moreover, he is willing to help our city even though it is unlikely he's from here. Therefore, we have to work hard and develop the city well to avoid disappointing him. Agreed. Seconded. After returning to the Yang Garden residence, the red armor on Zhou Hao's body slowly turned into ordinary clothes. He was very supportive of Commander Zhao and the others' plan, but he did not know much about the frontline fortress at the spatial rift. The school's teachers also rarely explained such things to them. They only said that every frontline fortress was a true foreign race battlefield. Apparently, Department Director Hong from the school had once retired from the fortress. It was said that the foreign race battlefield was like a meat grinder. Countless experts died there every year, but at the same time, countless geniuses rose up there. Compared to the frontline fortresses of the spatial rift, bases like Huadong City, Yanjing City, and Huanan City were basically all flowers in a greenhouse. Chapter 123, Troubled by Good News. Zhou Hao recalled that Zhang Yi and Su Ling would be coming over tonight. Therefore, he quickly cleaned the living room and went to the supermarket to buy some fruits. He also took out the good wine that his father couldn't bear to drink. Ding dong. Just as he finished packing, the doorbell rang. Zhou Hao hurriedly opened the door. The person who entered his vision was Su Ling, who had meticulously dressed up. Her hair emitted a delicate fragrance, as if it had just been washed. Her butterfly hair was stuck in a ponytail at the back and was decorated. 2 strands of hair fell down from the left and right of her temples. Her eyelashes had also been combed again, and the skin on her face was spotless and fair. Seeing that Zhou Hao was stunned on the spot, Su Ling secretly smiled. Her eyes drifted to the living room and she whispered, "Where's Uncle and Auntie?" Zhou Hao returned to his senses and smiled. They're not back from work yet. Come in quickly. Su Ling nodded slightly and walked into the living room to see the slippers placed at the side. She consciously took off her shoes and changed into them before looking around the living room curiously. "Joe Hao, where's your room?" she asked. "The room in the east is mine," Joe Hao replied before hurriedly entering the room. Su Ling wanted to spit when she saw this. "I bet it's really messy in there." "Humph, why didn't you work harder when you knew we were coming over tonight?" Joe Hao stood in front of Su Ling again and said innocently, "No, I already cleaned it myself." Su Ling looked at the living room suspiciously and touched the coffee table and dining table. "Not bad." Joe Hao looked at Su Ling's elegant curves and could not help but recall her tightened figure in the virtual training environment. His mind heated up, and he went forward to put his hand on Su Ling's shoulder and smiled. "Su Ling, there's only the two of us now." It was obvious what Joe Hao was trying to say. Su Ling was shocked, but she surprisingly did not resist. Instead, she lowered her head, her cheeks flushing. What are you planning?" Looking at Su Ling's blushing face, Joe Hao did not say anything and lowered his head as he tried to kiss her. Su Ling's body tensed up as her heart raced. Seeing that Joe Hao was about to kiss her, she hurriedly closed her eyes shyly. "Joe Hao, I'm here." However, at this moment, a shout sounded from outside the door. Su Ling immediately pushed Joe Hao away like a frightened rabbit and quickly walked to the sofa to sit. Joe Hao was speechless. He had finally gathered his courage and planned to get intimate with Su Ling when Zhang Yi interrupted him. He looked at Su Ling, who was sitting on the sofa with her head lowered, and couldn't help but shake his head with a bitter smile. Zhang Yi did not know that he had interrupted the two of them. Seeing that the living room door was open, he walked in. Su Ling, you're already here." Su Ling nodded like a chick eating rice. Joe Hao said angrily, "Zhang Yi, aren't you supposed to be my best friend? In the end, you arrived even later than Su Ling. Hurry up and change into your slippers." Zhang Yi scratched his head and said in embarrassment, "I went back to pack my house and missed a bus, so I was a little late." "Zhang Yi, why are you still taking the public bus? You should have made a lot of money from the training class as well as the combat assessment competition last time. Moreover, the demon warrior materials you killed are all yours. You don't have to be so frugal," Joe Hao couldn't help but say. "I'm used to it already. It's a habit I can't change." Zhang Yi smiled. Seeing this, Joe Hao did not continue to persuade him. He knew Zhang Yi's personality. "Where are uncle and auntie?" Zhang Yi asked when he saw that Joe Hao and Su Ling were alone. Joe Hao looked at the time. "They should be on the way." As he spoke, he made a call. "Little Hao, what's the matter?" His mother, Wang Shuyun's voice sounded. "Mom, 2 of my classmates came over today. Buy more food when you come back," Joe Hao said with a smile. Wang Shuyun replied, "All right, but I have something to do at the company today. I might go back later. Go buy some food first. Don't let your classmates starve." "All right." Joe Hao nodded. After hanging up the phone, he placed the fruits he bought on the coffee table and looked at Zhang Yi and Su Ling. "What do you two like to eat? I'll go buy some and fill our stomachs first. My parents might be home late tonight." Zhang Yi shook his head. "I don't have anything special that I like to eat." Su Ling also shook her head. "Me too." "You too." "Forget it, I'll go to the supermarket first. You guys play with your phones first." With that said, Joe Hao jumped down from the balcony. Su Ling immediately chased up to the balcony and placed her hands on her small waist as she berated, "Joe Hao, why did you jump off the balcony when the front door was open? You're really something. Just because you have a little strength now. How arrogant can you get?" "I'll definitely go through the front door next time," Joe Hao's voice sounded. Su Ling returned to the living room angrily and sat on the sofa to eat an apple. Zhang Yi smiled and said, Zhou Hao lacks someone to manage him. Su Ling nodded without thinking. Yes, he just lacks supervision. Su Ling, I think you're quite suitable to be the supervisor, Zhang Yi said in all seriousness, but there was a mischievous look on his face. Su Ling was stunned for a moment before she quickly reacted. Her cheeks flushed red, and under her thick eyelashes, her black eyes stared at Zhang Yi and said, Zhang Yi, when did you learn to talk nonsense like Zhou Hao? How dare you tease me? Zhang Yi coughed lightly and said seriously, I'm just happy. Although Zhou Hao is usually carefree, he's also very competitive deep down. Previously, many people in the class looked down on him, but he never said anything or argued back. He just worked hard silently. Fortunately, hard work always pays off. He finally stood out in this combat assessment. Su Ling was silent. She knew how difficult it was for Zhou Hao to be in the training class. After all, every student around him was much stronger than him. In such an environment, anyone would feel immense pressure. Many students would often give up under such pressure, and very few could work hard. In the past, she also thought that Zhou Hao was the former, but after the combat assessment during the day, she finally understood that Zhou Hao had always been working hard. It was precisely because she knew that he was working hard that she did not refuse when he tried to kiss her just now. After all, hard-working people deserved encouragement. She was also very willing to encourage the person she liked. Chapter 124, Something happened. Not long after, Zhou Hao returned from the front door with a huge bag of snacks. He threw it on the coffee table and smiled. Pick whatever you want to eat. I bought everything. As he spoke, he looked at Su Ling and handed her a chocolate box. Su Ling, I remember that you like chocolate with the panda patterns. Here, this is specially bought for you. Su Ling received the chocolate in surprise and opened it carefully. It was really engraved with a panda pattern. Zhou Hao, there's only one supermarket in the entire city that sells panda chocolates. Don't tell me you specially went to that supermarket. Su Ling looked up at Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao said casually, fortunately, it's not far. Otherwise, even if I were a martial artist, I wouldn't be able to buy it even if I broke my leg. How is it? Are you touched? Hee, are there any rewards? Su Ling was indeed touched, but after Zhou Hao said this, her emotions disappeared. Yes. With that said, she stood up and kicked Zhou Hao. Humph, all right, I'll admit that you're considerate. Here's your reward. So mean. Zhou Hao stared at Su Ling's chest indifferently. I like being mean to you. What's wrong? Halfway through her sentence, Su Ling realized that there was something wrong with Zhou Hao's gaze. She pondered for a moment and immediately felt ashamed and furious. Zhou Hao, you're shameless. The two of them circled the sofa and chased after each other. Zhang Yi shook his head and continued eating his snacks. After fooling around for a while, the two of them sat on the sofa and started eating snacks. Soon, Su Ling and Zhang Yi discussed Zhou Hao's breakthrough to become a martial artist. The two of them were very curious. After all, consuming rare resources required time for the body to absorb in order to have a chance of breaking through. However, Zhou Hao had only reached the first level of blood essence before this. His physical talent was ordinary and his absorption efficiency was very low. Logically speaking, in such a short period of time, he should have been able to increase his blood essence to at most the third level. Zhou Hao casually stopped Su Ling from continuing to ask. The three of them chatted until almost 9 p.m., and they barely had any snacks left. Zhou Hao, why aren't your parents back yet? Su Ling couldn't help but ask. That's right. Don't uncle and auntie usually come back early? Even if they have something to do, they shouldn't be this late, right? Zhang Yi asked curiously. He knew that Zhou Hao's parents had been leaving work early recently. Zhou Hao frowned. I'll call my father. He picked up his phone and dialed his father's number. Do. It rang more than 10 times, but no one picked up. Zhou Hao then called his mother, Wang Shiyun, but she didn't pick up as well. Maybe they're on their way. Seeing the worry on Zhou Hao's face, Su Ling couldn't help but comfort him. Zhou Hao shook his head. My parents usually take the subway. It's easy for them to answer the phone on the way. I'll call them again later. Soon, 10 minutes passed. Zhou Hao called his parents again, but no one picked up. Swoosh. Zhou Hao stood up and gritted his teeth. I'll go find my parents. Something must have happened to them. Su Ling and Zhang Yi stood up as well. Wait, let's go together. Let's go to Auntie's company first. The two of them spoke one after another. Zhou Hao nodded. The three of them left Yang Garden residence together and rushed to the Jing Pharmaceutical Company where Wang Shiyun was located. In Huadong City. On the left side of Chuyang Avenue, almost a third of the Jing Pharmaceutical Company was located there. Although it was already past 9 p.m., the street was still very lively. Many employees who were working overtime under the street lights were eating at restaurants on both sides of the street. When Zhou Hao, Zhang Yi, and Su Ling arrived, the restaurants were even more crowded. The entire street seemed very crowded. Zhou Hao, don't worry too much. Judging from the situation, Auntie is probably still working overtime, Zhang Yi consoled. That's right, Zhou Hao. So many employees haven't gotten off work yet. This shows that they're indeed very busy tonight, Su Ling also said. Zhou Hao's worried expression eased a little. The three of them passed through the big crowd and arrived at the gate of Jing Pharmaceutical Company. What are you guys doing? The security guard at the door stopped the three students. Zhou Hao immediately said, My mom isn't off work yet. I'll go in and take a look. The security guard suddenly understood. Oh, they're the family members of the staff. Tell me your mother's name and sign here. My mom's name is Wang Shiyun. She's in charge of the medicinal herbs reserves, Zhou Hao replied and signed. The medicinal herbs reserves are located in Area C, don't run around after entering, the security guard reminded. Zhou Hao and the other two nodded and quickly entered. They arrived at Area C and had yet to enter when they heard the discussion of the employees coming in and out. This Wang Shiyun is pretty unlucky. Last time, she accidentally ruined the scarlet blood vine and the rhino horn. This time, she actually ruined the yellow poria flower, the ginseng spirit, and other valuable medicinal herbs. That's right. Yellow poria flower and ginseng spirit are both medicinal herbs used to refine high-level medicinal pills. They're much more expensive than the scarlet blood vine and the rhino horn. I wonder if she'll be able to pay for them this time. She definitely won't be able to pay it back. Moreover, I heard that there's something going on behind the scenes this time. Oh? What is it? Tell me. Chapter 125, Intolerable Bullying. It's said that Wang Shiyun got 4 rare-level medicinal herbs from somewhere, and each of them is worth no less than 1 million. She wanted to ask the medicine department to help her refine a medicinal pill, but the medicinal herbs were secretly detained by Minister Wang. It's precisely because of this that Minister Wang deliberately got someone to do something. No way. Wang Shiyun is already an old member of the company. How could Minister Wang target her like this? So what if she's an old member? Who wouldn't be tempted by rare medicinal herbs worth millions? Hearing these people's discussion, Zhou Hao's expression darkened. A terrifying pressure spread out, but he did not lose his cool. He kept his blood essence pressure from sweeping away the others. Instead, his blood essence pressure only enveloped the entire Area C's medicinal herbs department building. My mom is on the 7th floor. With that said, his figure instantly disappeared. Zhang Yi rushed forward without thinking, and Su Ling followed closely behind. In the supervisor's office on the 7th floor, Wang Shiyun and Zhou Suiwo sat on the sofa with ugly expressions. A fat man in front of them smiled and said, Wang Shiyun, you've worked in the company for a long time. It's fine as long as everyone knows the truth. How about this? The company won't ask you to compensate for the damage to the yellow poria flower and ginseng spirit and will even give you 3 million yuan. But you have to pretend that you didn't give us the 4 medicinal herbs you gave us last time. How about that? Wang Shiyun immediately stood up and said angrily, Supervisor Zheng, aren't you bullying me? My son risked his life to find those 4 medicinal herbs in the wilderness. On what basis are you taking them from me? At this point, she said in an intense tone, I trusted the company and handed the medicinal herbs to the company to create the medicinal pills. I even paid a certain amount of manufacturing fees. In the end, you actually pocketed the medicinal herbs I gave you. Supervisor Zheng's expression turned cold. Wang Shiyun, I told you a lot of reasonable things previously. Did you not listen to me at all? Let me tell you, it's not in your benefit to go against the company. On account of the years you've worked, the company can even give you 3 million yuan. Otherwise, don't even think about getting a single cent. Moreover, you will also have to compensate for the losses of the yellow poria flower and other medicinal herbs. You're too much. Zhou Suiwo gritted his teeth. Aren't you afraid that we'll expose this matter? Supervisor Zheng laughed. Expose? Go ahead and expose us if you can. Jing's pharmaceutical company has been established for so many years and has experienced so many things. Do you really think we are afraid of your threats? At this point, he said impatiently, Wang Shiyun, on the account that we're all colleagues, I suggest you listen to what I tell you and accept the conditions. Otherwise, if things get out of hand, you might even lose your lives. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, the office door shattered. A figure flashed and instantly appeared in front of Supervisor Zheng. You, who are you? Seeing the figure that suddenly appeared, Supervisor Zheng looked as if he had seen a ghost and was so frightened that he sat down in his office chair. Little Hao. Son, why are you here? Wang Shiyun and Zhou Suiwo were stunned when they saw Zhou Hao. Hearing their words, Supervisor Zheng was stunned for a moment before smiling. So you're Wang Shiyun's ordinary son. I was wondering who it was. You scared me. Zhou Hao stared at Supervisor Zheng coldly. Were you threatening my parents just now? Supervisor Zheng sneered. So what? You're just a child. He had just finished speaking when he stopped abruptly. A pair of fists had already pierced through his chest and grabbed his beating heart. Pu. Zhou Hao clenched his fist tightly, and his heart shattered. Supervisor Zheng's fat body fell heavily to the ground, blood flowing everywhere. Seeing this scene, Wang Shiyun and Zhou Suiwo were shocked. They had never expected their son to dare to kill someone. However, they quickly regained their senses and hurriedly went forward. Son, quick, run. Zhou Suiwo also said anxiously, Son, remember to tell the others that I was the one who killed the supervisor. It has nothing to do with you. As he spoke, he turned around and looked at Zhang Yi and Su Ling pleadingly. I beg you not to leak this information. My son didn't kill anyone. Zhou Hao was about to comfort his parents when a scream sounded from outside the office. Two female employees who had heard the commotion walked to the door and looked at the blood flowing in the office, exclaiming one after another. Wang Shiyun and Zhou Suiwo were stunned as their faces turned pale. They thought to themselves, it's over. Son, you have to remember to tell them that I was the one who killed Supervisor Zheng. Zhou Suiwo was anxious like an ant on a hot pan. As he spoke, he took off his coat and crazily wiped the blood from Zhou Hao's fists. Moreover, he quickly stained his hands with blood. Wang Shiyun was also anxious to the point of tears. Son, you should go to the inner room quickly. There's water there. Wash the blood on your hand.